This is that black bamboo. Conrad brought this. This is still green, so you have to wait for it to be dry, because what happens is if you try to glue it, and the bamboo is still moving around, they tend to want to come apart, or it just seems to cause problems. They have these little things that grow off the sides, and we were talking about it earlier. They're real decorative, and here's one that's still kind of left on there. And I thought, oh gosh, that would be really nice, because you could like set it down and the brush would be up off the table, and would really look good. But when you go to dip it in the oxide, it pools around here, so when you start to do this, to do the decoration, it throws it all over. You know, or you like pull it out and it drips on your pants or whatever. So I had to go back, like on this one had that, and I had to go back and grind them down so that they would work better. You want them clean. You can have them at the other end, but you want it clean around here, so when you dip it into the oxide stain or whatever, and you're brush decorating it, it kind of runs down onto here, and then you're using it in your decoration as opposed to splattering it all over. It's real important that when you cut the bamboo into lengths, that you have two. These little joints are called nodes, and you need to have two of those. And the reason being is, if you say I'd cut it off here and only had one, if it gets wet and it causes it to split. You know, the nodes are like compression rings. They've got, you know, a membrane in there. And it's not that they don't. Some of them don't split anyway, but it really does make it a whole lot more substantial. And so you have a nice shaft, and it doesn't end up cracking. I have these. This was actually made by a guy named Bob Hovey, and he's made a few of these that I use, and he does a nice job. You can see where he ground them off too. So these are the ones that I sort of patterned mine after. I use primarily in Texas deer tail, whitetail, from a whitetail deer, and you know, they come in different lengths. Some of them that I bought, and if you use a lot of brushes and you stick them in the water, or the stain or whatever, even if you don't let them stay in there, the shafts tend to crack. So even with the watercolor brushes that I use, I coated them with epoxy to keep that cracking from taking place. And so some of these I've used, you know, a lot, and, you know, years. You know, these two this one I know is 25 years old. You know, and you just take care of them. You don't leave them in the water. You don't like leave them in the thing like that for, you know, a couple of days, and that dries out. You know, you take them out, and when you're done brush decorating for a day, you wash them out, and that, you know, it really makes them last, you know, a lot longer. So my glasses in here so you can see what I'm doing. So let's see what we can take a little. This looks like a little white tail, and this has really been cleaned pretty well, because there's a lot of times on the deer there's like a fuzz, you know, a down fur that kind of can get in the way. I'm just going to cut some of this off. Let's not make too big one.
I think they try to collect the deer hair for brushes and stuff, like in the spring, before they get that undercoat.
Get that undercoat? Yeah. Okay. You can see, just grab a little bunch, work it down in here. This has got too much, so I'll just put it in a little at a time. It's pretty.
They make several sizes of the hair sitters.
Yeah, they do. This is a small one.
And you can also take before they started making those tube style ones, they take like a half a cylinder and put a cap on the end. And so you just take this, like a piece of copper pipe or a piece of PVC pipe,
right,
and put a cap on the end. You can use that, just lay the deer hair in there and then tap it, and then you can just pull it out that way. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Cut a piece of pipe in half, lengthwise.
This stuff is really long. Most of the deer that I get is really short.
I could have brought my bigger hair stacker for you.
Well, this is what I'll use. I'll just make it happen. just should have cut it shorter.
Even the inside of a paper cup would work.
Push it through. So I'm going to hold it like so. And one of the things you have to remember is when you first start to wrap, you're going to be up towards the point. You don't want to wrap real tight, because when you do that, it flares the hair out. You know, you want to do that sometimes when you're tying flies, but when you're tying a brush, you know, you just want to kind of cinch it down a little bit, and then I'm just going to work back, and you can see it's starting to flare here, but I don't, you know, that doesn't matter. I'll just color it in here. And I'll trim all this stuff off.
Do you lose a lot of bristles on these?
You mean once I get them glued in? No, not at all. And
That's great.
they can get flat. You know, they'll wear out to where they're